It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks for joining me this morning as we talk all things real estate here on this program. If this is your first time tuning in, let me tell you what this show is all about. I like to take national, regional, local news, apply that to us here in the Low Country about real estate so that you can become an informed consumer. I share my stories and my experiences as somebody that's been selling real estate here for 12 years. I've been on this program for 5 years now, covering real estate, being your local real estate expert. And so I share my stories and experiences to help you become a more informed consumer, to use that information when it comes time for you to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. And so this morning, we're going to talk about what's going on in our local market right now. I'm going to read off some stats, give you guys an idea of where we are as a Tri-County area. And then I'm going to tell you what the effect of some of these trends are on the process of buying and selling real estate. There are some things going on that really aren't local news yet. Not a lot of people have caught on to it. We're doing about 200 transactions a year on my real estate team, and so we have a little bit of our ear is more pressed to the ground than some of the other sources of information that you might use. You know, if you're talking to a friend at a party and they have their real estate license, their opinion of the market or their perception of what's happening in this market might be different. And so I've always believed in giving you accurate information that you can use, that's realistic, that's trustworthy, so that you can plan for your future when you decide to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. So this is not a sales show. This is an informative program designed to educate you so that you can make the right decisions. So if at any point in time you'd like to reach out to me, you want to talk about working with a real estate team to help you buy, sell, or invest in real estate, my number is 843-345-1273. That's my cell phone number, 843-345-1273. Or you can visit my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And I will tell you that we're in the middle of revamping a few things on our site. There's still a bunch of information on there. We're going to change the way it looks, make it a little more interactive, give you guys more information. But all of my radio shows are on there. You can search the MLS, learn more about myself, my team, who we are, what we do, what we've sold, how we market our properties, all the guarantees we offer, all that fun stuff, listingsincharleston.com. So I want to talk first about the real estate market. I want to talk about the impact that's having on both buyers and sellers. And then I want to talk to real estate investors for a while. I want to kind of go over the natural path of a real estate investor to really scale up your investments big, to build some serious wealth in real estate, if that's your goal. So we're going to talk about that this show. And again, if you want to call me, 843-345-1273 is my cell, or listingsincharleston.com is my website. So the main headliner for our real estate market, and really the national real estate market over the past several years, has been supply. Supply continues to reduce, which is certainly the case here in Charleston. And because of that decreased inventory, we have an increase in demand. That is resulting in prices continuing to go up. And so here's what it looks like kind of from a 30,000-foot view of our Tri-County area. If you look at our year-to-date stats compared to the same amount of time last year, I don't necessarily like comparing month-to-month stats, May of last year compared to May of this year, because there's just not enough data, in my opinion, for you to develop a trend and really understand and absorb that information and apply it to you and your situation. But if you look year-to-date at things like new listings, the amount of properties we're putting on the market, we're only up about 2% compared to last year. However, pending sales are up almost 6%. So we are putting more properties under contract than we are putting properties on the market, or at least the rate by which we're absorbing inventory is greater than the rate by which we're adding inventory to the market. Having said that, closings are only up 1%. And I don't want people to read too much into that, because I think when we talk about misinformation and we talk about reliable information, this is a little bit off topic, but I think that one of the greatest epidemics happening in our country right now is the severe degree of misinformation available to all of us. It is challenging at times to know who to trust to get factual information. That is why I'm passionate about this program. That is why at times I feel like this program is almost therapeutic for me, because I get to come on here and tell you guys like it is. It's very nice to be able to do that, and I hope that as you're listening to the show, and especially those of you that have listened in the past, you know that this is a trustworthy program. The information within it is reliable. So when we talk about the fact that, we've only had a 1% increase in closings and it looks like that's starting to decline, that is true, but it is not a result of a shifting market or a lack of demand. We just have less properties for sale. If you look at May of last year, we had 6,000 homes available. Now we have a little over 5,200. And if you factor in the rate by which we're putting properties under contract, our month's supply of inventory, which is really what we use to kind of measure the health of a real estate market, are we in a seller's market, a normal market, or a buyer's market? The less months supply of inventory we have, the more demand there is, the higher prices go, the faster prices rise. And so we have 3.3 months worth of inventory as of the end of May, which is down almost 16% from this time last year. And that trend has gone down by double-digit numbers year over year over year. And here's the crazy part. If you really break this down, the month supply of inventory, which was really just, if nothing else came on the market, it would take X number of months to sell everything. That's how quickly we're selling properties. If you look at $100,000 to $150,000 in the condo market, we are at 1.3 months supply of inventory. If you look at single family homes, 150 to 200,000, 1.1 months of inventory. That's crazy. That is down 30% from this time last year. If you look at the $100,000 and below price range in single family homes, which are few and far between, it's down 40% from this time last year. And so when we talk later about real estate investments, that's the bread and butter for a lot of investors, are the low priced properties that they can pick up as a deal, put minimal repairs and renovations into, sell it for a nice profit, make 25, 30, 35% of their money, and they're just volume flipping. Well, when you have prices shoot up because inventory reduces by almost half, then it makes the availability of investment properties more challenging to find. And you have more people that want them. So you just have a decreased market share for things like that. So month supply of inventory continues to be the headliner in our market. And when you look at the impact on price, the median sales price is up 6.5%. The median sales price year to date this year is at $263,940. That's up from $247 last year. And the average sales price is at $355,000, which is up from $339,000 last year. So that's up about 5%. If you look at the days on market, we're at 56 days on market on average in order for you to sell your home. That's down about 7% from last year. So we have all these good things going on, all these good stats, all of these trends that support sellers. As a buyer, it is challenging to get what you want. So you have a few things working kind of against you. You have the fact that there just aren't very many homes available for sale. You have increased interest rates, the cost of borrowing money to purchase a home, and you have increased prices, which all affects affordability. And so as prices continue to rise, it prices out first-time home buyers from entering the market. So they continue to rent. Well, rent has gone up almost as much, if not more, than the residential market. So renters are paying more. They're not able to save as much, which prevents them from getting into the market. And because first-time home buyers aren't as prevalent in the market as we would like, it prevents the first-time home seller from selling their home so that they can move up into a more expensive, larger property or build a new home, which then affects the people that are kind of in the middle of the road in terms of price and size. And let's say that they're not increasing their purchase price or they're not looking for a bunch more space. They just want to move to a different area of Charleston. Let's say someone lives on James Island and they live in a $500,000 home and they want to move to Mount Pleasant, to somewhere like Park West, to be close to some more kids and go to a great school district or whatever the case might be. The challenge is there's not a lot of inventory, and so it prevents people from making lateral moves. You couple that with the fact that you have less people buying at the bottom, the bottom tier price range, which then prevents people in the bottom tier price range from moving up to the middle tier. And so you see it from the bottom up. And then what you'll start to see as our market begins to shift is that the shifting market will impact the speculative markets the most. And by that, I mean, of course, second homes, beach properties, investment properties, things of that nature. Homes that people don't need to live in as their primary residence. So you'll also see it from the top down when luxury sales start to drop. Now, we're not there yet. I'm just giving you an idea of what's going to happen as our market starts to shift, because make no mistake, and of course, mark my words, that it's going to happen. Real estate is cyclical. It's going to happen in a few years. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but I am starting to see the writing on the wall. I am starting to see areas of our market shift more toward a normal market, which is not a bad thing. When we talk about a shifting market, there's such a negative connotation associated with that because of the fact that our market crashed 10 years ago, and we think that a shifting market is synonymous with a crash. It's not. It's just returning to normalcy in some areas, meaning there's not a massive shortage of real estate options. And look at Mount Pleasant, 600 to $1 million. That's almost a normal market right now. It's trending that way. And if you disagree, look at the stats. I've looked at them every single way I can because that's where a lot of my business is. And we're having to be slightly more aggressive in our approach. I was looking yesterday, 650 to 750 in Mount Pleasant. There's like 75 homes available for sale. It's not an extreme seller's market like Somerville, 150 to 200. Those things sell in days. Mount Pleasant in the higher price ranges, not so much anymore. Don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of demand. But people continue to play leapfrog with their pricing. Oh, John down the street listed his home for $700. I'm going to list mine for $710. Oh, they listed for $710. I'm going to list at $725. And then you've got this collection of overpriced listings that were caused by overpriced listings. And because we're in a seller's market, or that's what they think, they're not interested in doing a price reduction because it's perceived as quote unquote giving the home away. And then they just sit. And the agent doesn't want to lose the listing because there's so few listings. They at least want the marketing opportunity. Hey, if this home doesn't sell, that's okay because maybe I can find a buyer. And so they don't be straightforward with you and tell you, hey, if you really want to sell this house, you need to be down on your price like 10% or at least, 6% to get someone through the door to make a competitive offer. But they're not telling you that because they don't want to lose the listing. They don't want you to be upset and say, well, that doesn't work for me. Let's take this house off the market. Now, I'm making generalizations about real estate agents, and I understand that. But there are plenty of agents out there that are not being straightforward with their clients. How do I know this? Because about 60% of the listings that we end up selling were previously on the market with another real estate agent. And we asked them, why didn't it sell? What was going on between them and the other agent? What was the feedback? All these questions, I covered this a few shows ago. And they're just not being straightforward with their clients as it relates to price. It's a big problem. So I'm going to tell you how this is impacting sellers, this shift in the market and just the overall trends within it. When I come back, we're going to take a quick break. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. And again, if you want to reach out to me, you want to learn more about how we work with our clients to help them buy, sell, or invest in real estate, feel free to give me a call personally. My cell phone number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. or visit my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Visit Brian Beatty's website at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks again for joining me this morning. We just reviewed the market here in Charleston. I gave you guys an idea of what's happening on a macro level, so you guys better understand the trends within our market. It's still a seller's market. Buyers are still challenged with finding a reasonably priced property that they can get a good deal on that fits all their needs. We're having a lot of our clients right now tell us that they can't find what they're looking for. So I want to mention this before I jump into my next segment. We have two things that we do on my team that are quite unique, and they revolve around off-market opportunities, meaning non-public homes. They are not advertised for sale. You can't find them anywhere, and they're a list of sellers that would sell their home if we brought them a buyer and the price was right. And we also have, just like every other real estate agent or company does, a long list of buyers looking for properties, and we just haven't found what they're looking for yet. So if you're a buyer and you're struggling to find what you're looking for, or you're starting the process and you want to know what's out there, truly what's out there, not just what you can find on Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com, but everything, then let us know, because we have a database, which I am proud of, and I don't mind saying that on this show, but we have a database of almost 250,000 people, which has amassed over a 12-year period, that are in varying stages of buying and selling real estate, or that have already purchased real estate here in Charleston. And so we update our database. We have this long list of people that we refer to as shadow inventory. Again, off-market opportunities, people that would sell their house if we brought them a buyer. They just don't want to deal with the hassle of being listed on the MLS and having a bunch of people go through their house. So if you're a buyer and you're interested in properties like that, let me know. Or if you're a seller and you would consider selling your home, you just don't want to have it on the MLS and have people, coming in and out of your house and dealing with all of that, let me know, because we also have buyers that are looking. Again, it's a seller's market. So there are buyers out there that are kind of watching the market like a hawk, waiting for the right opportunity, which is why you see properties that get snatched up and they're gone, they're under contract in a day. Yes, there's some skill involved with that on the agent's side, but there's also a healthy dose of luck. We put the property on the market at the exact time someone was looking for what we had for sale. And they saw it because we marketed it well. They came, they put it under contract, boom, we're going to close on it. So if you're a buyer or a seller and you're interested in off-market opportunities, let me finish this thought. Give me a call. We don't just share this list. You're not going to find it on my website, because it is our own personal database, essentially. So we don't just hand it out. You have to agree to work with my team. I want to just tell you that caveat. It's not some sort of foot in the door technique. That's what's up. But if you're interested in information like that, please give me a call. 843-345-1273. Again, 843-345-1273. Or contact me through my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So let me go back a little bit to what we were talking about last segment as it relates to our real estate market. I want to tell you about the impact that the trends within our market are having, mostly on sellers, because this also relates to buyers, but I wouldn't follow my advice if you're a buyer in terms of what's happening right now. So let me just tell you a quick story about a property that we had under contract. I'm not going to name the address or names or anything like that. I'm going to keep it vague, but here's what happened. We put the property on the market, goes under contract in less than a week. We're going through the process. Things are going well. We get to the point in time where the home inspection gets performed by the buyer. We represent the seller, just so you know. And we get the inspection back, and it's a bunch of small stuff. It's an older home, but it's a nice home. And there were some things that needed to be done. We were okay with doing that. The buyer asks us, in the form of an addendum to the contract, for a credit. Instead of making repairs, they want a credit that was about, and I'm not kidding here, it was about 10 times the cost of what it would have cost the seller to hire a contractor to do all the work. 10 times. I'm not going to say the number because I'm not going to tip things off here, but an extreme, absorbent amount of money in order to satisfy, quote unquote, this buyer so that they could move forward with the purchase. Well, of course, the seller's stance, my stance, our team's stance was, why in the world would we do that? Why in the world would we pay or leave that much money on the table when we could get it fixed by a licensed contractor, which you are welcome to reinspect? And heck, we'll even pay for your reinspection if this is what makes you happy. But we can get that done for 1/10 of what you want. So show me an invoice. Where are you getting these numbers? They couldn't do it. They didn't have an invoice. They didn't have the ability to justify their request. So it was obvious that the buyer was just trying to get something out of the seller. They thought they had the seller's back against the wall because they knew the seller was moving. And what they didn't anticipate or expect was that my seller was not going to be painted into a corner. He did not need to sell his house in order to buy another. And we are certainly not going to be raked over the coals. We'll do a fair deal. So you can either do the fair deal, you can either have this home repaired by a licensed contractor, which we agree needs to be done, and we're going to do it anyways, or you can walk and stop wasting our time. And they chose to walk, and apparently this isn't the first time they've done this. But I tell you this story because we're seeing this happen more and more. We're seeing buyers essentially give the seller the price they want when they negotiate the contract. And if you're a for sale by owner, listen up, because this applies to you. Buyers are giving you the price you want at the initial contract negotiation phase. And then as the transaction progresses toward closing, they're doing everything they can to beat you up and kind of turn the knife to get back some of that deal that they may have artificially sacrificed when they gave you the price that you wanted when they made their initial offer. And this is happening mostly with home inspection stuff. I'm seeing it happen more now than it's happened in years past. And so part of the problem here, aside from the fact that buyers they want a deal, so if they can't get it when they initially negotiate the contract with you, they might get it on the back end when it comes to the termite inspection or the home inspection. And they typically get it in the form of saying, hey, rather than making those, here's a quote from a licensed contractor, which is probably going to be some sort of inflated quote. Here's a quote, and it's $5,000 to fix everything. But rather than you fixing everything, why don't you just give me $5,000 toward my closing costs? Or something like that. They're just using it as an after-the-fact technique to get something more out of you than you probably would have initially agreed to as a seller when they made their offer, if that makes sense. And so you can say, well, I appreciate that, but I have a licensed contractor, and on my team, we've basically got 3 of them on call because of the amount of deals we do and because of the amount of business we send them. And, maybe it's $2,000 instead of $5,000. Well, why am I going to give away $3,000? And so you get to tell very quickly whether a buyer is going to be reasonable or not. And is it truly about the repairs or is it about something else? And so one of the best ways to combat this is to get a pre-listing home inspection. And if you've listened to my program in the past, you know that if you list your house with my team, we will pay for the pre-listing home inspection. It does a few things for us. It allows us to determine what truly needs to be repaired that buyers are going to find anyways when they put your home under contract. we can use that to say, all right, if these things need to be repaired, if we're going to likely be asked to address these things anyways, let's take our time and find a contractor that can do the work at a reasonable cost rather than saying, hey, I need this work done in 3 days. And the contractor says, well, I mean, I've got a bunch of work. So does everybody else. I can do it, but I'm going to have to charge you a little bit more. And because your back's against the wall as a seller and you have deadlines, you say, okay, I don't really have a choice. Let's do it. So it allows you to shop the rates. If you don't have the ability to make the repairs, you're just not in a financial position to do so, then we can incorporate that into our pricing strategy. We can say, here's the home inspection report. We've reduced our price X amount of money from what we believe is fair market value in return for not having done this work. So it prevents buyers from saying, all right, well, this is a well-priced home. Let's put this under contract, and then let's beat them up after we get the home inspection. It prevents buyers from double dipping on your price, sellers. So get a pre-listing home inspection. We can use the home inspection as a marketing tool to justify our value. If we're listed at $400 and we have a buyer come through and they question our value, obviously it's the job of the listing agent to substantiate that price and value by saying, here are the comps we used, the numbers don't lie, and we've already had a home inspection. We've already fixed these things, so you don't need to be concerned about putting this home under contract and then you getting a raw deal because we're not going to negotiate repairs after you put it under contract. We've already done the work. You can trust in the fact that the value is a true representation of this home in its current condition with current rates and market trends the way they are. So we can use that as a marketing tool. And if that's something you're interested in, if you're thinking about selling your house, we don't have to, do this the week before we list. We can have these discussions months in advance, put together a plan to help you sell your home for the most amount of money in the least amount of time and with the least amount of stress. So if you want to reach out to me to have that discussion, please do. My cell phone number, which you can call or text, is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. Or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So stick around, Charleston. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA, and we'll be right back.
Hear the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 9 and each Sunday morning at 10 on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. 1250 WTMA. Expert news and views on the Lowcountry real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm Brian Beatty, your host, and I want to switch gears now and talk about investors. I want to talk to the real estate investors, or the wannabe real estate investors, the people that want to break into the market. They're just not sure how. So when we talked at the beginning of the show, and we talked about the market and the fact that there is very low inventory, that in and of itself creates challenges for investors. There are less opportunities. There are more investors in the market that are speculatively purchasing properties with the idea that they can buy them and flip them and make some money, or buy them and hold them. And what I have come to realize in the 12 years that I've been doing this business, and about 1,000 transactions to the tune of about $500 million in real estate volume on my team, is that there are investors that just don't know what they're doing. I can't think of a different way of putting it. They don't have a sound strategy in place. They haven't determined how they're going to scale their real estate investments. They don't even have benchmarks for what makes a good investment versus what doesn't. I've had some folks that want to work with me to help them purchase properties to buy and hold. And so I'll say, what's your investment criteria? And they kind of give me this roundabout answer. They can't give me specifics because they don't know themselves. We look for properties to cash flow. Okay, well, what does that mean? What does cash flow mean to you? What sort of return on investment determines whether it's a good investment or a bad investment for you? I use those as educational opportunities for investors because if there's one thing I understand, it is how to analyze an investment in real estate. And so when you've done this for years and years and years, and you've represented as many investors as I have, I mean, I represented an investor out of Vegas that was doing 300 deals a year that wanted to break into the Charleston market. We did some deals together. I worked with a guy out of New York, same thing. They found that the Charleston market was just too different from the markets that they were in terms of quality of labor, quality of workmanship, quality of agents. It was a fascinating experience. But I've also spent a lot of my own money investing in real estate, buying and holding properties and flipping properties. And so I want to talk for just a little while about kind of the natural progression of the real estate investor. And so you've got two basic options, right? You've got the buy and hold, or you've got the flip. Flips, obviously, are your short-term wealth building tool, while the buy and hold is the get rich slow technique, right? And so what a lot of people do, of course, is they start small. They look for home run opportunities, which is what I did. I looked for inexpensive properties that I could purchase, put maybe $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 into, and sell for, 35% return on my investment, which is my requirement. If I'm going to flip a property, mine is higher than others, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But they look for small home run flips, which then eventually fund larger, more expensive flips, which may then create enough capital to buy and hold something with little to no debt, and they just kind of recycling equity as their flips net more cash in the bank. And so that's really strategy number one. That's what a lot of people do is, hey, I'm going to do a few flips until I can buy a property for cash. I could, of course, get a mortgage, but I don't want to leverage another property to buy another. And I'll tell you that I come from a family of investors that built their wealth in real estate through real estate ownership. It started with residential, and then land, and then light commercial, and then it resulted in multiple shopping centers and so on and so forth. And so the lesson that I'll never forget that my grandfather told me was to never leverage a high-performing asset to purchase another asset in a speculative nature. Okay? Don't rob Peter to pay Paul. Yet so many people go this route. That's why 10 years ago, the market crashed. You had your local bartender with 7 investment properties, and he kept pulling equity out of one to pay for the other. And then next thing you know, all he has is, money on paper. He doesn't have equity because he's pulled it all out to buy something else. So you get the bragging rights of having 7 rental properties, and you get some rental income from that, but it's not nearly enough to pay for the massive loss you're going to get when people move out of the house or damage it, or the market drops, and you have to pay money to sell it. And so what did a lot of people do? They just held it. They said, okay, well, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. It's going to come back. And then the next thing you know, their investment is worth 30% less than what they bought it for, and they have no ability to write a check for 30% of the value of that house to sell it. So what do? They give it back. They give it back to the bank. It creates short sale and foreclosure opportunities. That's how the market shifts. That's where investors make their money. That's when you build wealth in real estate. Not when the market's good, when the market's bad. I will be ready when our market shifts. I am riding the cash wave of this market as hard as I can, putting it away for a rainy day, because when this market drops, and it will, I'm not wishing for it, and I'm not wishing that upon anybody, but as a savvy investor, I know that the basic principle of investing is to what? Buy low and sell high. So getting back to kind of this natural path of investors in terms of building your wealth in real estate, you've got the small home run flips, which again fund the larger flips, which then might fund a buy and hold with very little debt. You also have the other option of just being a volume flipper, meaning you're doing multiple projects a year, likely multiple projects at the same time, you expect less of a return per property because the volume averages things out. If you look for home runs and you make, 30% on your money, and let's say you make $30,000 a year making, doing one flip, but you could have done 4 flips and made $40,000, $10,000 a piece. Which is better? That's for you to decide. That just depends on how much time you want to invest into supplemental income, which is what this is. This is a wealth building tool. Now, you could buy and hold on a singular level, meaning you buy a property whenever you can afford to purchase one without leveraging other investments, which again is the get rich slow model to building wealth in real estate. Here's something that benefits you as you start doing this. And so I'm kind of giving you again the natural progression of a real estate investor here. The more work you give to reliable contractors will create economies of scale. Simply put, as a company grows and volume increases, that company has a better chance of decreasing its costs. That's economies of scale. So your costs as an investor have 2 major components: the cost of borrowing money and the cost of labor. And so here's the fun part. Once you have a proven track record of investing your own money successfully, you can seek outside capital at reasonable prices and or bring on investors to take down larger opportunities you couldn't afford or don't want to fund yourself and inherit all the risk. So then you can not only benefit from more investment opportunities by pooling investors with an interest in guaranteed returns, but you could also manage the fund of investors for a fee in return for putting the deal together, while also benefiting personally from the returns realized by investing your own money. And so I'm going to take a break, and when I come back, I'm going to finish this thought, because you guys will be surprised at the number of ways to make money in real estate investments that you probably haven't even thought of yet. Okay, so stick around. We've got a few minutes left on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. And if you want to call me, you want to talk about this, you want to acquire some investment properties, you just want to learn more about the process. Is it the right time to do it? Can I afford to do it? Where should I do it? Give me a call, 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. Or go to listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I always like to take a little bit of time and just say thank you to those of you that listen to this program, rely on the information within it to make an informed decision when it comes time for you to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. I really appreciate the phone calls, the support, the business, and it's a lot of fun, guys. I enjoy being on this program. Of course, during the week, I'm selling real estate and doing everything there needs to be done to run a real estate company, but it's nice to be on this program and just talk with you guys about what's happening and educate you on this market, on this process. And so if that's something I can do for you personally, if you're thinking about buying or selling or investing in real estate, or you just have some general knowledge questions, or maybe you're thinking about getting into the business, feel free to give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. So I want to finish my thought on the path of a real estate investor is what I'm calling this segment here. And so we've talked about some of the different options you have as an investor, right? You have those small kind of home run flip opportunities where you buy an inexpensive home. It doesn't need a lot of work. You put it back on the market after the work has been done. You hopefully make 25% return on your investment. And you keep doing that until you have enough money to buy larger flip properties, which then eventually might lead to a property that you can buy and hold and rent and build wealth slowly. but continuously don't discount the time value of money and appreciation. Of course, you also have volume flipping, or you can just buy and hold whenever you have the ability to afford something and you don't leverage other opportunities to find a new opportunity. Okay? You don't need to do it so fast that you sacrifice a well-performing asset, which is probably one of the most important things that I could ever teach you on this program. Do not rob Peter to pay Paul. If you have an investment that is rocking and rolling, it is a rock star investment property, and you pull equity out of that property to fund another investment that does not have a proven track record of being a rock star investment property as well, you are putting yourself in jeopardy of not only being disappointed with the new property you purchase, but you're also going to be extremely disappointed when you have essentially screwed up the property that was paying the bills, that was actually producing supplemental income and accomplishing your goal of building wealth in real estate. Now, I talked earlier, right before we left, I kind of alluded to this natural path of a real estate investor. So check this out. Okay, if you're really smart about real estate investments, you'll get into the real estate industry. And here's why. And I'm going to give you kind of the keys to the castle on this. But if you don't want to get into the industry, of course, just call me and we'll take good care of you, right? 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273. That's my cell, or go to listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. And we'll tell you more about how we approach the process of helping investors accomplish their real estate goals. But check out the number of ways you could make money being a real estate investor. Of course, you could be an agent, which means that you get to seek out the opportunities to invest, and you get paid a commission for purchasing the property. You could invest your own money into the deal and earn a return on the investment, which applies to a buy and hold strategy or a flip strategy. You could act as the bank and earn both points and interest on the money that's borrowed to fund the investment. And just a quick side note on that, in addition to running a real estate company and being a real estate investor, I'm also a private money lender. I lend out my own cash to other investors so that they can seek out investment opportunities. And I charge a pretty penny for that. You could be on the other side of the real estate investment. Instead of going and investing in the real estate, why don't you act as the bank? I'll tell you one thing, it's a lot less work for a more consistent income, but it's just another layer. So you could act as the bank. Now let's say you have a proven track record because you've documented your investments. You've shown people that you know how to invest your own money and turn a profit. Now you can put together some investors that also want a return on their investment. And you, as the person that puts the deal together and has put the investors together, can now essentially manage a fund for investors seeking investment properties, and you get to earn a management fee for that in return for overseeing the fund and reporting to the group of investors that, again, want that guaranteed minimum return on their investment, in addition to a percentage of the profit equal, of course, to the amount of their capital contribution. And you get to earn a commission when you sell it. And you could even start a remodeling company, a construction company, and act as the general contractor. You could sub out all the work and you get paid to oversee the renovation. I've just given you 6 different ways of making money in real estate investments. If you want more information on this, if you're thinking about investing in real estate, you want to start small, you want to start slow, you've got a bunch of cash, you don't know what to do with it right now, let's talk about investing in real estate. There are opportunities that still exist in this market, but timing is critical. So if you'd like more information on that, give me a call, 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thanks for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.